Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing this morning? My name is Christine Anderson. I am the Public Affairs and Communications Manager for the Texas Real Estate Commission. I am joined here today by our very own Carrie Lewis, who is our TREC General Counsel. And we're here today to talk to you guys about social media and advertising and getting in compliance. We've received a lot of questions, and there seems to be a lot of confusion out there about how to get in compliance. So we thought this was a timely event. If you have questions, please go ahead, just in case you weren't online before, and post your questions in the comments section. We will get to them throughout the presentation. We also have a staff person here, Pim Mayo, who's an enforcement attorney, who's here to answer questions as well. So if you see her commenting or responding, she is a TREC staff person and is extremely well versed in all of this. So we're looking forward to hearing from you throughout the presentation. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Carrie Lewis, who's going to get started.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. And I'm going to start with the disclaimer. This is social media and advertising. And I know a lot about our advertising rule. I am a social media Luddite. Okay, so that's why I have Christine and Pim here, because they are social media gurus. In fact, last week they were laughing at me because I really didn't know how to properly use a hashtag, which I still think is a pound sign or a number sign. So there you go. But they, so when we get to calling the social media parts by name, I'm going to have Christine do all that so I do not publicly embarrass myself further. But hopefully we've got some people in the audience that are kind of like me that aren't very familiar with social media. And then, of course, we have a lot of you who are extremely social media savvy. So this should hit on something for everyone. So with that being said, I want to go to our first slide. And I want to first go over the two different sets of rules that I think people sometimes confuse, because we do have some social media exceptions in our rules for both of these things. So the first one is advertising, right? The rules for advertising on social media platforms are not exactly the same as the rules for putting a link to your IBS or CPN on social media platforms, because they're different, right? In advertising on social media or by text, we're talking about making sure the required information in the rule is on the social media, So what is the required information? The required information is you have to have the license holder name or team name and the broker's name in at least half the size of the largest contact information. That's it. That's all that is required by TREC under our new rule. So the exception for social media, and if you're looking down the screen, you look on the left-hand side, it's number one, it has to be readily accessible by a direct link from the social media or text advertisement, okay? And when you go to where you have that direct link on the social media, you click on it, the information, which again is the license holder's name and the broker's name and at least half the size, that has to be readily noticeable on that separate page that you have just linked to, or if you're linking to the account profile, in the account profile. That's it. That's simply for advertisement. Now, if you look on the right-hand side of the screen, we talk about what is the rule for posting the consumer protection notice and the information about broker services. Remember, those are only required to be posted on your business website. Okay, and I understand there's some confusion. When is a social media platform a business website and when is it not? And we'll talk about that in the next slide. But the rule when you have a business website is you have to have a link to the IBS and to the CPN. So with social media, though, we allow that to be one step removed. So the link that has to be provided under the rule can be located on the account user profile page or on a separate page or website. Say you have two business websites, one's on social media platform, one's on the internet, the old-fashioned way, which is what I always think of when I say business website. And so you have a link to that social media, to that business website on the internet. So if you have a link to that business website and that business website has the link to the IBS or the CPN, then you're okay. So it's almost a link to a link, where with advertisements, it's a link to the information. Okay, so hopefully that distinction helps clear up some of the confusion. Let's go to the next slide. So, so when we're talking about names, and I'm not going to go into all the names because that could be a whole nother hour of information. If we still need it, we can do that another day. But you have your broker's name. What is your broker's name? It's the broker's licensed name registered with TREC, or their assumed business name, also known as a DBA, that is registered with TREC. That's the broker's name. Those are the only two things that count as a broker's name, with one exception. If you're an individual, if you've registered an alternate name, an alternate broker name counts too. Okay, so then you have your agents who are sponsored by that broker. And then some of those agents may have decided they want to work together and they have a team name. The team name has to follow our advertising rules and has to be registered by the broker. So the broker kind of controls all of that. And if you'll remember, under broker responsibility, the broker is responsible for making sure all agents' advertisement complies with their advertising rules. So that's why the broker controls all of that. So that's just kind of a review of names. So when we're talking about names, you know what we're talking about. So next slide. So what does an agent or associated broker need on all advertisements? Again, this is going to be repetitive, but I just hope this will make it clear. So if Christine Anderson is an agent and her broker is Carrie Best, and Carrie Best license name with TREC is Carrie Best Real Estate LLC, and she's also registered a DBA of Best Realty, then Christine Anderson on her advertisement can use Best Realty or Carrie Best Real Estate LLC. Both of those are good names. They're the broker's names under our rules, and either of those can be on the advertisement in at least half the size of the largest contact information. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. So let's talk about Facebook, because Facebook is where the two roads meet, right? Where you may have to have a business website and you may also be advertising. And Facebook, you could just advertise if it's not a business website. So let's first talk about Facebook as a business website, because this is the most common social media platform that is used as a business website. So what is a business website? Well, under our rules, it's a business website if it is accessible to the public, it contains information about a license holder real estate brokerage services, and the contents of the website is controlled by the license holder, not the template, not the formatting, but the content is controlled. So a simple way to think about it, and this is how I think about it, and I think this is how enforcement thinks about it. If in other advertisements or media that you're using, business cards, all of those things that you're giving to people, even in your texts and tweets and all of that stuff, if you are driving business to a website, particularly to a Facebook website, then that's considered a business website, right? You're sending people there to get information about you, to look at your listings. You're using it as a business website. This can include a personal Facebook page if you're sending people there and you're using it to post listings.
May I say something, Carrie?
Sure.
So something that was brought up in a discussion in the events forum on this page was a discussion about the difference between a personal Facebook page and a business Facebook page. And I wanted to make sure that y'all knew that that some people don't know this, that there is a difference between the two, first of all. And so I posted images of my personal Facebook page and then the TREC business page. And you can see that the format's slightly different. And one of the things that's important to keep in mind is you may want to use a business page as where you host all of your listings and exclusively post to it, because you can kind of manage a lot of the background content on it. You can get analytics, you can get more information from that Facebook business page. And if you use a personal Facebook page as your business page, you may not be able to control as much. And it just is like kind of an insider thought about that. It may be worth the time to manage both of those. And then you can also separate your personal interest, your personal Facebook page, pictures of your kids, versus driving business to a Facebook business page where you can have professional listings, your headshots, all of that kind of stuff. Just a thought there. As I was going through and looking at a lot of people's social media profiles, specifically on Facebook, it seemed like a lot of people were managing their listings on their personal page, but were like titling it like Christine Anderson - Realtor, and then like posting their listings in there, which again is, according to Carrie, is it ends up being a business website, but then again it kind of muddles it and may not be as effective.
Yeah, and I'll clarify that. Again, if you're sending people to your Facebook page, whether it's personal or business, then that is a business website. If you're advertising that address somewhere else that people can come to, that's a business website. But if you're just using your personal Facebook page and you're not putting it out anywhere else and it's only going to your friends, but you're putting listings there, then that's probably just advertisement, but you still need to meet our advertising rules. So we're going to go through that specifically now. So,
and let me know, you guys, if you're having questions about this like these issues, because I know I personally went through, hundreds of different agents' website, Facebook pages and stuff like that, and postings to kind of see if I could flesh out some of these questions and anticipate them. So if you have questions, please go ahead and post them in the comments section and we'll get to them, okay?
Okay, so let's look at Facebook, and let's first look at what do I need to do to comply with the consumer notice and IBS posting requirements. And let's say this is your business website. We've already established what that is. So this is your business website. So if it is a business website, you have to comply with consumer notice and IBS posting requirements. So you have to post your link to your website, where you post a link to your website where you have a compliant link or the actual IBS and CPN documents. So you have a Facebook website and you have another website, or you have another place where you've deposited these two documents. Either one is fine. But they have to be basically one link away. The link has to be one link away, or one link away is the actual documents. Mm-hmm. So Christine, if you'll point out what you've got highlighted here.
So I found a couple of examples of ways to get in compliance here with this requirement. And the reason we don't really say like exactly how to do it is, even since we wrote the rules, Facebook will change how their formatting looks or how policies work or how you can do something on a business or personal page. And we can't always be changing our rules. So I'm giving you two examples of how I saw somebody comply that I thought worked really well, and ran it by our enforcement staff as well as our general counsels, and they both agreed. So first would be in the about section here, that this top one, if you were to post a link to your website, which was in compliance, had your filled out IBS and your consumer notice clearly on that website, and followed all the requirements for posting, but you had a link to it in your about, that's fine, that works. So in your about, you can post, your website link, that's great. That works for me and for Trek. So then the other option I found was this brokerage had actually created a custom tab over here where they created the Trek and Consumer Protection Notice tab, as well as the Information About Brokerage Services tab, both linked directly to the completed forms and were hosted on their website. So again, if anyone were to navigate to that brokerage's Facebook business page, they could see it clearly and it met all the requirements. So it's just an example of two different ways to get in compliance. I know a lot of people kind of thought that they needed to post a link to the completed IBS or consumer notice in every single posting, and that's not the case. It just needs to be clear and accessible on these pages. So that's just some options there.
Okay. So then let's go to the next page and talk about what's the difference when we're talking about the advertising rule.
I did have some questions here, Carrie, if
Okay.
you wouldn't mind going
Sure.
back. Andy, I'm sorry, Andy, I'm going to butcher your last name. Holmgreen asked, what if you share a post from your business page to your personal page? And that's come up before, like if you're sharing your realtor page and you're sharing a listing on your personal page,
Yeah. In fact,
does that make your personal page a business website?
No, not necessarily. If you don't have any other type of advertisement or media where you're sending people to your personal business, personal Facebook page for business purposes, then it's not. But it would be advertising, and that's our very next slide. So let's talk about that.
And then Russ Coffin just asked, hey, I posted 2 pics of the forms pinned to the top. Is that in compliance? Yes, it is. I would say that I've noticed that Facebook tends to change how they do the pinning of images and like favorite images. And so that may change. And so I didn't keep that in here as like an option, but that definitely I think would be working for us. Like if you had the 2 forms. The problem with that is like if the post then like is always pinned to the top of your page, and then your postings are kind of always pushed down. So it might not be aesthetically as pleasing. So, but if that's the way you want to do it, absolutely, that should work.
Yeah, and so just keep up with changes on Facebook. When you do something like that, you just have to keep up. If they're somehow changing their format and those pins go away, you need to come up with another method.
Yeah, and Tammy, we're going to get to Instagram. We're going to go through Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram today. Okay, so just hold on. We decided to break it down by a website just to kind of give more details on this. So we'll get to that in just a second. Okay.
All right. So let's go, because Andy had a good question. How to comply on Facebook when advertising? Okay. So in his example, he's got a business Facebook page, and he's following all the rules for IBS and CPN there. And he when his postings, he complies, with our advertising rules. But he's then reposted it to his personal page. So how do you comply? So for agents and associated brokers, you have to make sure that your name or your registered alternate name or your team name is on there, as well as your broker's name or their registered DBA is on every advertisement. Now, the broker's name only has to be half the size of the largest contact information. I'm going to say that 1,000,000 times today, but there's really only 2 things you have to remember, right? So this goes for business web pages, and it also goes for reposting on your personal page. So make sure your pages, the other thing is you have to make sure on your personal page, because you may not have all of that other stuff that you've got on the business page that's in compliance. Make sure there's nothing on that posting that is implying that you as an agent are the listing broker or the owner of the brokerage, okay? So in this particular case, Christine's got an example here. You can see that, and I've tried to very badly kind of eliminate some of the like distinguishing things about these posts, because I don't want anyone to think that we're calling anyone out about anything. These are all, all of these should be pretty good compliance, or they're definitely good examples of people that are complying. So for example, this person was, this is a personal page that somebody was sharing. She was an agent, I believe, then when I looked them up, and it just had their name on there, but they didn't have like anything else distinguishing. So our recommendation would be like to make sure that the broker's name is also on that page, instead of just, if you're an agent, you need to have both of those things on there. You can't just share a link to a listing. And I will say, some people might say, well, look, there's a sign in this listing, and it's got all the information on it. I would say that is not readily noticeable. I can't see it. And unless somebody went and opened it up, scrolled in and magnified it. So as it's regularly posted, it's not readily noticeable.
Yeah,
so,
and a great way that I've seen some people kind of ensure that every single posting is in compliance is they basically modify the image to have the banner of like the logo or contact information within the image itself. So when you're sharing it, it automatically is in compliance. The advertisement meets all of our requirements because it's not just like the listing, a link to the listing, but the image itself has been modified to include all of that information clearly. And that third point there, Carrie, that I know you've said a million times as well, is really what we're looking for is to make sure that your listings, your postings, your page do not imply that you're the listing broker. If you're the agents or associated broker, you just don't want to make people think that you're the ones. That's what we're trying to avoid, is that we don't want them to imply that they're the ones that are the brokers.
Okay, so now I want to share with you some information that's really a little outside of TREC's jurisdiction. In a way, we do have some jurisdiction over this, but I just want to make you aware of the complications that can arise when you start using your personal page for Facebook. I don't know how many of you are aware, but in this August, HUD filed a housing discrimination against Facebook. And they claim that Facebook enables advertisers to control which users receive housing-related ads based on their race, color, religion, sex, family status, or national origin, or disability, or even zip code. Okay, they say this is against the fair housing rules, as it may limit or deny housing options with a click of a mouse. Okay, so this is ongoing right now. They filed the complaint. This investigation is going on. But it occurred to me that TREC also has a rule, right? 531.19, where we say you can't discriminate. License holders cannot facilitate discrimination when they're advertising based on all of these protected classes. So on your business Facebook account, that's pretty much open to everybody. So I don't think you run into trouble. But on your personal Facebook account, you decide who's your friends that you're sharing with, right? You decide the level. Can it go to friends, friends of friends? Are you inadvertently excluding certain groups? And if you're advertising elsewhere, you're probably okay somewhere in the public domain. But if, let's say you're doing, and I know this happens, coming soon, so it's not on MLS yet. It's kind of what people call pocket listing, right? So you're giving a certain group of people who may fit only a certain demographic, whether it's race, religion, or age, a separate opportunity, and you're excluding others. Just think about this. We haven't taken any action on this, and I'm going to wait and see what HUD comes up with. But are you inadvertently violating fair housing laws? Something to think about. So, especially in the situation where that's the only place that you're currently advertising a listing, or it's not an open listing, you may be creating an issue for yourself that you haven't thought about.
Or if you're like, I know for advertising on a lot of platforms, you can pay to boost your post, and you can target specific demographics. That's something else that you should consider when you're doing that, is are you inadvertently violating those HUD requirements? So
right. In fact, one of the things, and if this may even apply for Facebook advertising on your business webpage, but they say Facebook allows you to draw a red line around zip codes and then not display ads to Facebook users who live in certain zip codes. That's a big no-no. Yeah. So right now they're targeting the way Facebook lets advertisers advertise to Facebook users. But, the next step could be coming in and saying, how are other people on Facebook using it, especially in the housing arena? So that's my word of caution, my free legal advice for the day.
And David Tanner asks, what if you select sharing to the public? Again, as long as it's sharing to the public and open to all, yes, I can't see what you're selecting there, but
right.
You just want, I think what Carrie's point is like sharing to the public could be what's public is defined as by you. And so we want to make sure that you're defining public as public and not, I'm sharing to the public, but it's within a certain group of people in the public,
Yeah, if you're worried about this, you need to talk to your brokerage attorneys or go on the HUD website and read what they're talking about. they've got a press release and they've got the actual complaint on their website about this whole Facebook discrimination issue. So that's just coming down the road. Social media is a slippery slope. It's always changing, and there's so many ways to monetize it that they may provide good opportunities, but you always got to say, are they violating regulations? Am I in compliance? And that's what we're talking about today. So I'll get back on topic. We're talking about how to use social media and be in compliance with TREC rules.
And Clark Real Estate Group says, if an individual agent does not comply, is the broker responsible for whatever may happen to them? Is it fine to take down their business page, or what would happen? So basically they're saying, is the broker responsible for what their agents are doing? And I think that's...
Yes, yeah. Broker is always responsible for what the agents are doing, and the broker is responsible for making sure all advertisement of the agent is in compliance with TREC advertising rules. So if your agent is doing something that you don't think is in compliance, you can say you can't do that.
Yeah.
Let's figure out the way to make it compliant, and let's do that.
And Carrie, we're getting a lot of questions about what you just brought up with HUD. And let me just clarify, guys, that is not necessarily a policy or a rule just yet. Like she was referencing our rule about discrimination. But as far as like how that would be applied, that has not necessarily.
Yeah, that's just brand new, and I'm just making y'all aware of it. Okay, I don't even know how that's going to come out, but they did an investigation on Facebook, and they are targeting Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg at this point only. Yeah. And I'm sure they're starting there, because if they get them in line, everybody else will fall in line.
Okay, moving on to Twitter.
Twitter is where I get in the most trouble, because I'm really bad at handles, and I don't tweet except when I do the chicken dance.
Yeah, man.
But,
it's an amazing dance.
It is an amazing dance.
Okay. Go ahead.
So what do I need to do to comply with the consumer notice and IBS posting requirements on Twitter? It's really the same thing. Put a link to your website that it is in compliance with their rules in your profiles. And then Christine saw something else that someone did. I'll let her explain it, but it's a link tree with links to the completed form. So explain how that works.
So I actually, again, was looking around at different brokerages and Twitter accounts, and I found this person who had created what they call a link tree, which is like a sub website that they created to, within the link here that they have in their like about. It was a link to their link tree that then had links to all sorts of information. And the very first two things on there were the TREC Consumer Protection Notice and the TREC Information about Brokerage Services, which were completed. I thought it was an excellent way to get in compliance while still maximizing the utilization of that space. So they were still able to like show all sorts of other good things from their website. They basically linked to a bunch of things from their website and created this link tree in their profile in order to allow for more links within their profile. And it just was a really great way to comply. The other one that we're showing here is like, obviously, if you just link to your website that is in compliance, in that the two forms are readily noticeable on that website.
Or the link to them are readily noticeable.
The link to them. So again, keeping in mind, I came across a lot of people that clearly were trying to comply, but the readily noticeable would be coming in question. Things like they put the link in like archives of newsletters. It was like they just didn't know how to name it properly within their CMS. And that's probably something that the IT person in the office might be able to help with. But just keep that in mind. Readily noticeable means like a regular person could find it pretty easily on your page.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Okay. So now, how to comply on Twitter when advertising. And now we're going to start sounding redundant, but honestly, this is it. Agents and associated brokers, make sure your name, registered alternate name or team name, as well as your broker's name or their DBA is on every advertisement that you post. Okay? So
again, like if you're retweeting somebody else's posting, what I found was the best way to ensure that all of your postings are in compliance, that like that the image itself has been modified to include the contact information. It kind of ensures that everything's tagged on there the way that it should be in the format that you want it to be. Otherwise, if you leave it up to like The formatting from Twitter, it could get, stripped somehow, or somebody retweets it and like cuts it out. But then if you know that the image itself has been modified to include your contact information, you as the advertiser knows that that image is not going to be messed up, as well as that you understand that you're in compliance with our advertising requirements. So again, keeping in mind, you just don't want to imply that you are the broker if you're not. And same things that Carrie's already covered.
And if you are a broker, then just your name has to be on there. Your registered alternate name, your license name, or your DBA has to be on there. And I want to point out something here. We'll talk about logos later. But if you see, let's see if I can get my little cursor. Okay, you see right here. Let's say this is a registered DBA, the gray station, we'll call it, the gray station. But the logo size is much bigger than the lettering. When we say the name has to be half the size of the largest contact information, we're not talking about the size of the logo. If the full name is in the logo, we will look at the size of the lettering in the logo, and that can count. But a logo by itself doesn't count. We'll review that again in a future slide.
Okay, I got a question here that's interesting. If I post daily tips, etc., like home buying tips, I'm assuming Cameron is asking, am I supposed to also note the brokerage I'm with even on those, or is when I'm advertising homes? Is it?
You're advertising yourself, right?
Yeah.
You're holding yourself out as an expert, and you're wanting people to understand that you really know what you're doing. So to me, you're advertising yourself. Why are you putting those I first asked you, why am I putting those daily tips out there? Because I want people to know that I know what I'm doing and I would be good at representing them. That's an advertisement.
Yeah. Okay.
So do it. That's great. I think that's great. Just make sure your broker's name is also somewhere on that post.
Oh, this is a great question, Maribel, that I actually brought up with Carrie while we were planning this event. So she says, what about when you go live or post a video of a listing that isn't yours? So like for example, if you're out at an open house or like you're walking into a listing and you post a selfie in front of it, is it an advertisement? Carrie? Okay,
so why are you posting that? If you're posting it on your personal Twitter account or Facebook account, and you're just doing it, let's say you're Cindy Lou, and you're just, oh, I'm so exciting, got a new listing, I have an open house tomorrow, and that's all you're saying. Well, maybe you're just being a little braggadocious, or maybe you're wanting all your supportive friends to click on a thumbs up, good for you, way to go. That's probably not an advertisement. But if you're going and posting a picture, a selfie of yourself in front of a house, and you're saying, got this new listing, super psyched, this is a great property, open house tomorrow from 1 to 4, tell all your friends that want a house, come by, it's going to go early, and the address is 2424, Chimney Rock Road. Well, guess what? That's an advertisement. So much of this is fact specific, which is why there's no black and white answer, but hopefully you could see the difference between the two. On the second one, I would expect you to have your brokerage name on there somehow. One clever way that Christine came up with, which we sort of saw in the other ad, but you'd have to do it a lot bigger, is let's say you're doing a live stream, just walk up to the sign that's in the front yard and end with it right there. Yeah. Look for this sign, and bam, right on that sign, large and clear, your name, contact information, and the broker's name. So there's ways that you can do it. We're not trying to stifle creativity. We just want to make sure that you're complying with those two simple things: your name and your broker's name, and half the size of the largest contact.
In every advertisement.
In every advertisement. And with social media, it can be one click away.
Yes.
But it has to be a link. It has to be a link from the social media. So let's say Twitter's probably a good example. Let's say you're tweeting about an account, about a new listing, and you're giving all that information. And so then you put a link to your business website. And on that, when you click on that link, clear as a bell, it's got, your name and your broker's name. You're fine.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so what about ads on Craigslist? Is no more info needed than other than the name, contact information, and broker information.
That's it.
Yep, that's it. You know, okay, sorry, I'm just making sure I'm not skipping on anyone's questions. What if an agent from another broker retweets or shares a Facebook posting of another broker?
First of all, I hope you have permission.
Yeah, but also like if you're sharing a listing that so that's an advertisement. You're basically advertising someone else's advertisement. Is in that case, like, again, you want to make sure that you're you want to make sure that the information that you're sharing is clear about who you are, right?
Right. In general, advertising, you can't have a misleading advertisement. And if you're reposting someone else's listing and implying that it's yours, sort of as a loss leader to get people to come, and you can take them because you represent buyers, let's say, be careful. It better be very clear that is not your listing, that it's a listing on the market that you can show them, So again, in addition to just what names need to be on there, there's the overarching rule. Actually, it's a statute that you can't be misleading. You cannot create a misleading impression. It's even less of a standard than be misleading. You cannot create a misleading impression. Yeah. So again, if we got a complaint on that, our enforcement attorneys would look at the totality of the ad to see if it created a misleading impression.
And I got a question here from Rachel Cahill. I'm sorry if I'm destroying your name. I apologize. Rachel, so she asked, from a tweet, does a link to the business website need to be in every post in your profile? And that's pretty clear. We've gone over this a lot. It just needs to be in your profile. It does not.
Nope.
Well, no, sorry. I'm sorry. I was speaking incorrectly. A link to their,
if they're using, okay, let me take this one.
Sorry.
Okay. So again, we're conflating, right, the IBS rules and the advertising rules. The IBS rule says that you can have a link to your website that has the links to the IBS and C. That can be in your profile page.
Yes.
But if you look at the rule, and I'm going to read directly from the rule on advertising, okay, for social media, an advertisement on social media or by text, the information required by this section, okay, that's your name and the broker's name, can be located on a separate page or on the account profile page if the separate page or account user profile is readily accessible by a direct link from the social media or text. So if you have a tweet and you have a link on that tweet to your account profile page, on that account profile page, you better have your name and the broker's name in at least half the size. Mm-hmm. If on your tweet you have a link to a business website, that's fine. On that business website, your name and the broker's name must be readily noticeable. Does that make sense? I think it's a slight difference, and I think this is where the confusion is coming in. That's why I wanted to clarify that.
I think what I was going at, Carrie, was like, so if your account profile, like for example, on the example we're looking at here, if their name on every tweet is a link to their page, their Twitter page, the actual page where they host all of their information, right, and on that page has a link to their on that page everything is in compliance, the sizing, everything is good, that's fine. They don't need to link to their business website in every single posting that they make.
They can do it either way.
Yes,
but it's got to be a link that's on the advertisement that either goes to the account profile page that has the name and the broker's name, or if they prefer, they could have a link to a business page. But you can't go to for advertisement like you can with IBS. You can't go to your account profile page and then not have that information and then link to your business page from there. That's one too many steps removed for advertisement.
Yeah. For consumer notice and IBS, great. That's fine if you have it like in your profile that you click to the the in compliance website.
Right.
But for advertising purposes, your Twitter profile needs to be in compliance is what she's getting at. So the actual profile page, this like the actual homepage of your tweets where all of them are
Right.
showing to the public, that needs to be in compliance
Right.
with the advertising requirements of sizing and all of
Right.
that. Yeah.
And to compare the requirements, when you have time, go back and review our very first page, because that's why we put them side by side. It's not exactly the same. There is a slight difference, and that really is the difference. So thank you for that question.
Yeah. And Rachel, I hope that answered your question. Let me know if you're still confused. Okay, so we're moving on to Instagram.
So Christine, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So with Twitter, it's tweets. With Instagram, what is it? Grammys?
Posts.
Just posts?
Yeah, it's a post.
Okay.
Grams. Insta G.
Insta G.
Double tap that G.
There you go.
Yeah,
something.
Insta G. No,
I don't know.
Doesn't work. It's a post. Pam is even more cool about Instagram than I am, and she was like, no, it's the grams. Yeah. So we'll move on to Instagram again, similar to the other two, but again, there's slight differences in how things work. So we thought we'd show you some examples.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So again, what do I need to do to comply with the consumer notice and IBS posting requirements? You can put a link to your website that is in compliance with the rules in your profile. Or here's another way that Christine found on some sites that was creative and also works: create a story highlight and save them. So why don't you explain that, Christine?
So, you can create an Instagram post, and in here again, this person has shown like that she modified the actual image, and her advertisement includes all of the required information and formatted properly.
For advertising.
For advertising,
But
yes.
we're talking about.
But in addition, well, I just wanted to like show this example because this is the one that I was looking at right now. But then in addition, she then in her profile, when you clicked on it, you went to her profile page, which this is a screenshot of it. She then had in her highlights from her Insta story, she created two highlights, one for the consumer notice and one for the IABS, both filled out, both looking great, both clearly linked to it there. And I was like, okay, so not just like, so in here, she has a link to her website. That's great. If that's in compliance, it would have complied with the requirements. But in addition, she went a step further and removed one more click and had it right here on her profile page. She found a way to actually post the consumer notice and IABS. And I just thought I would share that, as I thought it was a really kind of smart way. I haven't seen anyone else do it this way. So it was kind of a really great way to do it, and it doesn't seem like it was that hard to do. So just thought I would share that because I thought it was a really great way to do it.
And my only comment is it should probably say TREC IBS and TREC Consumer Protection Notice.
Yeah.
To be perfect.
Yeah.
But she's already in compliance because she already has a link to her website. So this is extra.
Yeah.
But if you were only going to do this, make sure you've got them labeled properly.
Yeah. And again, let me just remind everyone, none of the websites or images on this are in any way violating anything. We are just trying to show some examples. These people are in no way in trouble or doing anything wrong. We're not going after these people in any way. We just wanted to show some good examples of people that seem to be trying to comply and showing you why or why not they weren't. So just want to make sure nobody, is worried. Okay, going on to the next one.
So how to comply on the grams when advertising. So again, same thing. If you're an agent or associated broker, I kind of like that.
On the grams.
Boy, that could be taken another way too,
Yeah,
couldn't it?
there you
Okay,
go.
never mind. Make sure your name, registered alternate name, or team name, as well as your broker's name or their DBA, is in every advertisement posting, right? This goes for repostings. And then, as we've said before, make sure that the way that you're presenting something does not imply that you're the listing broker or the owner of the brokerage and is not otherwise creating a misleading impression. Brokers, same thing. You just have to worry about your name, okay? Because your name is your name, and that's all you have to do. So, but it has to be on every listing that you're posting.
Yeah. And you can see here this person, how would you comply if you did a multi-photo post? Well, the one before, Andy Holmgreen asked that. The one before here is a good way to say like a multi-photo post. Now, if you're swiping right, like, and you're having multiple images, you know, that's a great question. I hadn't thought about that. As I would say, I have seen people just watermark each image with their contact information. If you want to be uber safe that like every single one of your postings is in compliance, that would be my quick recommendation.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say contact information. I would just say have your name and the broker's name.
Yeah.
And half the size. That's what you mean. Yeah. So just have that. And actually, there are cropping up some social media marketing firms who make recommendations just like that. So if you are having problems figuring it out or are worried about it, there are some entrepreneurs out there who are helping people and they guarantee 100% compliance. So
I've come across a couple that seem to be really, really helpful. So
so there's help. There's other help out there as well if you want somebody to review your ads. If you need more information than we're providing here, or are having trouble interpreting the rules. The other thing I would say is if you're having trouble interpreting the rules, you can call our legal hotline, and one of our friendly staff attorneys in enforcement will help you.
And I would say,
but we do not review everybody's ads. I'm just going to say that up front.
Yeah. So so Andy, you were saying like maybe have the first image in compliance. You know, this is a gray area that I don't think any of our enforcement staff has like really delved into it. So if it's the post itself has like is in compliance with all the advertising requirements, I think you're fine.
Yeah, if you scroll through subsequently, they know where they started. They saw the information when they started.
My recommendation was just to be like uber safe. Like
put it on the first one, or if the post itself has it, and then you can flip through. That's fine. Yeah. We're not trying to do any gotchas here, guys. We really aren't. We just want the consumer to be able to have the information that they're supposed to have up front.
And David Tanner asked, so even on stock photos, and yes, that means even on stock photos, any photo that you're sharing or any advertisement that you're creating is required to follow these rules. Doesn't matter if it's a stock photo or your own photo, whatever it is, you're buying the rights to those stock photos if you're sharing them. So you need to make sure that you're responsible for them.
And like this one that's up here, okay, she's got photos up here, but her information is below.
In the actual post.
And that's fine too. It's just what you're looking at. That when you're looking at it for the first time as a consumer, you know who's the agent, who's the broker. Okay?
Okay. Keep those questions coming, guys. These are great questions.
Okay. So we're on our last slide, and then we'll have we're really going
we started
fast.
About five minutes.
So we'll go about 5 minutes under. So this is logos and formatting. Let's just talk about logos here for a quick second, and this is just a reiteration. Does a logo count for a broker's name? No, does not, never has under our old rules, does not under our new rules. But if the logo contains one of the two broker's names that we allow, which is a broker's license name or a broker's assumed business name that's registered with TREC, if it contains one of those in full, not a shortened version of either one of those, but one of those in full is embedded in the logo, then we will count that, though that name, the printed size of that name, not the size of the whole logo, but of that name, will be considered compliant as long as that printed name is half the size of the largest contact information. So if you look at our TREC logo, man, if TREC is nice and big, but TREC Real Estate Commission is pretty dang small. So if I had a post and had my name on it and a large phone number, that wouldn't qualify because that is just too small unless the contact information that I had on there, my name and my phone number, were very, very small also, or just twice as big as what's on there. But in the one that we saw earlier today, the broker's name was nice and large and could easily be half the size of the contact information. So it just depends on the type of logo that's being used. And initials don't count as a name. KW, MM, anything you want to say does not. Remax doesn't count unless Remax, I guess, if it's the actual name. But initials do not count as a name. It's got to be the name that's registered or the with TREC, the licensed or assumed business name. So hopefully that's clear.
Okay, guys, let's go ahead and open this up to kind of questions. If people need help finding specific answers, we're here to kind of talk to you guys through this. So if you have questions about like your stuff or questions that you want to ask us, please go ahead and do that. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen at this moment, and hopefully it'll go to the camera of myself and Carrie talking. But just in case it doesn't for some reason, we will restart a new live video and I will combine the two. But I think I've practiced this a bunch, that stopping sharing means that it will actually just go to our webcam so we can talk to you guys and show you guys some other live examples if we need to. So I'm gonna do that right now. Hey guys, I see you're coming back. Sorry about that. When I practiced it, it didn't do that. So I'm not sure what's going on, but
It's my fault. I called her a social media guru.
yeah, she did. And then I messed it all up. So sorry about that, guys. Let's see. Man, my voice just went, I got all panicky when I canceled the video. Okay. Where? Oh, if you have a registered DBA with TREC, which is the initials, is this compliant? So is the so if the registered DBA is KLW.
Yeah. If it's registered as a DBA with TREC, you can use it. And why is that? Because if you register a DBA, it shows up on our license holder search so the consumer can find it. They can type in the initials and they can find who's the designated broker, which agents are sponsored.
Right.
Okay. So it's all about consumer information. That's really what we're trying to get at here.
So you guys, as you're coming back on, if you want to share links of examples or if you have questions, we would be happy to kind of go over some of that as we're talking. I know something that I've seen, so we kind of went over it already, but just in case you missed it, first of all, we've gotten a lot of questions about where this video is going to be saved. We will archive this as a live video on our Facebook page. But in addition, we will also be sharing this on our YouTube page as a compiled video with everything. The link to this presentation is actually already live on our website. It was shared in the last live video as well. And I'm going to share it again on the page as we're getting as we're done with this so that you guys have access to the full presentation. Keep in mind that so TREC doesn't do any sort of approval of advertising, right, Carrie?
Right. That is the responsibility of your broker.
And what should somebody, so if they want to make sure that, so an agent wants to make sure that their advertising is in compliance, they should go to their broker.
They should go to their broker. If the broker has questions about how the rules work, the broker can call our hotline with specific questions about our rules, but the broker can't send, here's, 6 of my agents' ads. Are these okay? No, we don't have the bandwidth to do that. We don't have the resources to do that.
Yeah.
So and we go over advertising rules every time in our broker responsibility course, every single time, just to make sure that they understand what they have to do.
Yeah. So the broker is responsible for what the agents are doing, even on social media, even on advertising. Yep. So ultimately, they need to be the ones that are looking at it, making sure that everything's done.
Because it may meet TREC's requirements, but the broker can have additional requirements. That's their business. They're allowed to do that. So it's really up to the broker.
And I actually saw something that I wanted to remind people of when I was looking at these advertisements. What I saw a lot of was people that seemingly were trying to be in compliance, but they just weren't understanding the name process and how to register names and DBAs, which, as Carrie mentioned at the very beginning of this session, We could do a whole other session on names and DBAs,
Right.
which maybe we need to, again, we did do, if you want to look on our Facebook page, we did do a name management tool review in names. So check that out if you're still confused about how names work. But we can always go back. We have FAQs on the website as well about that topic.
And just a reminder on names, because this was a change that went into effect in May, your name has to be registered with TREC, whether it's a team name or a DBA or an alternate name, before you start using it in advertising. Used to be you had 30 days to kind of catch up. Well, a lot of people dropped the ball, forgot, and just never did it. So it has to be done before you can start using it in your advertising.
Yeah.
So that's something to remember. So get your name approved and registered by your broker, and then you're good to use it.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of people that they were trying to, so you can use our license holder lookup to see if your names are registered with us, which is great. But you can, what I would do is I would check, and a lot of people were filing team names as DBAs, or they were confused as to what category they were supposed to be in. Or a lot of agents actually think that the DBA is theirs, or the team name is their name, and that's not the case. Agents do not have control over managing those. That's only a broker's thing.
Correct.
All team names are registered under the broker. All DBAs are as well. So again, keeping that in mind when you're looking at these structures and how you should be linking to things on your website and naming your profiles, keep that in mind. You want to make sure that that's clear.
And we do have a lot of information on our website, because we put a lot of information out last spring when all of this was kind of new and changing. Although some of it's still the same as it's always been, but there is a lot of information on our website.
Yeah.
Just go to the top and type in advertisement.
Yeah, there's
you'll get it.
20 pages. Adriana, I'm sorry, again, I'm just butchering names. On Instagram, we post images for encouragement events, day of the life. These images have to have the logo on them? They're already on our page, so people know who we are. This is a company page, not an agent page. So she's saying that the brokerage, for example, has an Instagram account, and they're posting, thought of the day, or, encouragement maybe to home buyers or clients, not necessarily specifically related to real estate. But I guess my question would be, why are you posting that? Are you trying to engage in your audience? Are you trying to encourage more followers? Are you using hashtags underneath that to drive people to your page? Then that's considered an advertisement, really.
Right.
You're trying
but if it's the broker's page, and it's one click from the post to the account profile and the broker's name's there, you're good.
Yeah, it's not.
You're good.
So if the brokerage's Instagram account is named the brokerage's name that's licensed with us, or a registered DBA, again, then you're fine. It doesn't need to be. Now, again, if you wanted to be super, super safe, you could watermark each of those images with with your name. But
I don't think you need to do that, because we allow the one click away, click away to the information, not a link to a link, but a link to the information. And I'm not savvy enough about these Grammys, but if you've got
the Grammys,
I like Grammys best. I'm going back with Grammy. It just sounds good to me. But if at the top of it, it takes you to the profile page anyway, then it's automatically done for you. I don't know how that works, but
I think as long as your brokerage's Instagram account is named what your brokerage's name is, you're okay. Because they'll click on the post, even if it's a paid for post, in somebody else's feed that isn't following you, and they click on it, they go to your page, they're going to see who you are, and they're going to see
readily
your
noticeable.
name.
So you're good.
Yeah, I think you're fine. If that didn't answer your question, please go ahead and follow up with me. I'm hoping that we're being as clear as possible, but we might be as clear as mud. And then Jenna says, going back to Facebook and the custom tabs, you showed the beginning at the presentation. In order to use that, the page tab feature is only available to pages with 2,000 or more followers, or pages managed by whitelisted apps. Yes, that's true. Jenna, that's absolutely true. I believe that I didn't realize it was 2,000 followers. I wasn't sure. I knew that it was like a bookmark that or a benchmark that you had to have. It just was a suggestion. It's not the like only way to get in compliance. We had two other options there. One, link to your IABS and consumer notice on your through the link to your website. As long as the homepage of your website has it, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
Or somebody else said, oh, I took a picture of the completed one and pinned that post, the image to the top of my page, and that's fine too. That totally works. So you do not have to do those tabs. That was just one of several options that I found that seemed to be good solutions.
And if you like that, just tell everybody to follow you so you can get 2,000.
Yeah. So
you want us to say your name? Tell everybody to follow you right now?
Yeah. No. Well,
Just
actually,
kidding.
you guys,
Just kidding.
I'm the administrator of our Facebook page, so you guys could. But really, I post everything on Trex, so it's fine. So Pim, so Pim actually already answered those questions, but I just wanted to, for the group, in case you weren't seeing them. And Ray Jaffa says that that's not accurate, Jenna. I only have 500 followers and I've created a bunch of custom tabs. So again, that's where us mandating how you comply is really tricky. And we try not to say specifically, this is the only way to get in compliance, because there's just no way that I could possibly keep up with all of the nuances of all of the requirements.
We really did try to make the rules to have some flexibility. Because not only are we not, at least me, not completely versed in everything social media, but it's constantly changing and new ones come and old ones go.
Yeah.
So we tried to come up with a scheme that could be applied in every situation or almost every situation. That's why we allowed a little more flexibility on social media than in regular advertisements.
Yeah.
Traditional advertisements, I should say.
Yeah. So if people are not asking any other questions, I want to be a good steward of everyone's time. We are at exactly 1 hour. So I want to first thank Carrie for coming in and doing this presentation for us. I think it was really helpful, and I hope that it cleared up some questions that people have. I get these questions a lot, specifically on Facebook. People kind of send me pictures of advertising and ask me if it's in compliance. Again, we don't do that, but from that, I saw that there was a lot of people that were genuinely trying to be in compliance and maybe didn't necessarily understand all the requirements, don't understand what
the differences between the two, because we do have two social media rules and they have to be a little bit different because the requirements of each rule are slightly different.
Yeah. So so I'm hoping that this was helpful. I will be resharing this video and the links and everything again later on today and on our YouTube channel. Please share this with your offices, spread the word. We are going to be doing these kind of town halls just about once a month on different topics. So if you have any other recommendations for topics, we want to hear from you guys. We want to know what you guys want to hear about. So if you need another one of these, maybe somebody missed it or couldn't attend and you want to do another one, we could even do something like that. So go ahead and make those recommendations on our Facebook page. I'm here to hear those things and to respond to you. I will also want to thank Pim Mayo, who is over there answering questions. She is awesome and extraordinarily knowledgeable in this topic and has been essential in us getting clarification and complete understanding of how enforcement is going to be looking at these things. So thank you to Pim for taking
I want to get her to
time.
photobomb over here, but she's shaking her head.
She's like, no.
She's not going to do it.
No. So that's okay. But she has been excellent and answering everyone's questions live, which is challenging in and of itself. So thanks again to Pim for spending the morning with us as well. If you guys have any other questions, I'll give you one more chance. Otherwise, thank you again for attending, and we hope you found it helpful, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye-bye. Have
Bye,
a
guys.
great day.